Recently, I posted on Facebook a watercolor of a hummingbird I did, and I had a lot of feedback from it, so I thought, why not do a lesson on it? So let's do one. Be sure to stick around to the end so you can see what we're going to paint next time. Today, I did use a photograph for a model, and here it is. Let's get started. Take your spray bottle, spray your pans of paint, and put some water in your palette. Let's start with using our liner brush. Now, let's talk about the placement of the flower and where the bird is. And we're using the vignette style. So I want to have the flower about right here, and there's a stem, and then the flower shoots out here, and so the bird is going to be about here. So let's first start with putting the flower in. Using our liner brush, load your brush with sap green. And I'm going to put a line like that, and then a branch out like that. And this is where the flower is going to be. And another, this is going to be a thin strand of a leaf right there, like that. Rinse your brush out. Now this flower is going to be orange with a little yellow. So let's use our palette over here and mix some cadmium yellow with some cadmium red. You want it in between those two colors. I'm going to add a little water to my brush and start making the flower. And it's a little bit of a orchid or cone shape. Like that. That's pretty good. Bring that a little bit like that. Okay. Now let's work on that hummingbird. So let's start with the beak. And the beak is very thin and straight. Now to make that color, I'll clean my palette right there. So let's load our liner with burnt umber and ultramarine blue. You want it to be mostly paint, not so much water. Their beaks are very dark, almost black. That's looking pretty good. And we're going to put the beak about right here. About like that. Now, I do want to dry this because when I start painting the bird's head, I don't want the paint to run. Okay, staying with our liner, go ahead and rinse it out. There is some green on the head. So let's use our sap green and start forming the head about right here. Come around and then down. Now on the other side, there's a little bit more of the kind of a gray color. And let's use that to kind of outline the rest of the shape of the bird. To do the head there. And then doesn't have a very long tail. There's just a little bit of the tail about like that. And then the wing comes out here. And it's a little bit of a kind of a sharp point and then comes back here like that. Now let's fade that line a little bit. That tail is a little bit too short. Let's add a little more. Just a little more. And the under part of the tail, it's white. There's a little bit, it's a lighter in color. So we'll use this dark color like that. It's looking pretty good. What I like about watercolor is you don't need much. Just a little color can lead to such wonderful imagination. So let's spread some of this green paint here. Along here and up on the wing. Like that. Put some of the green down here. Need a little more paint. Like that, and more on the body. And there is a little white on the chest. And like that. That's looking pretty good. Okay, let's add a little sienna to the hummingbird. It has some of that color in it. And again, if it's too dark, you can dab it, add some water, lift some of that color out in the brush with your brush. Let's put a little more up here. Went over my line, that's okay, can fix that. Put some of that color in the head. Here. Now, on the wing here, there's a gray color and it's beating very fast. So we want to make the illusion of the feathers. So let's use some of the burnt umber here, ultramarine blue, and add a little white to it. I don't want it that dark. I want a little more gray. So I'm going to add a touch of white to my mixture here. And we want to make the illusion that the wings are beating fast. And it makes a gray color. Kind of like that. We're not drawing every little definition of the feather. And there's a little bit of the gray up here by the head. Just a touch. Like that. Don't want it quite to be so definite, so I'm going to fade it a little bit. And I want to add some more of that burnt sienna. Make that a little bit stronger. Just kind of like that. Spread it. Let's work on the tail here a little bit. I'm going to use some of this dark color here. And make it a little longer. About like that. There's a light color, medium, and dark. You like having those three, a light, medium, and a dark. That's looking pretty good. And again, if you think it's too strong, you can just use your brush and lift some of that up to lighten it. Just a little bit. Experiment. Have fun with this. Don't worry about the dishes in the sink. Just be here now. You're making a wonderful creation. You're thinking outside the box. That's looking pretty good. Just want to lift a little more. That's about right. All right. So now let's work on the eye. Now the eye is very dark. Now I think I want to... So let's go ahead and give it a quick dry before we do that. So again, using our liner brush, we want to have that dark color using burnt umber and ultramarine blue. A little more blue. You can test it on your paper towel. That looks pretty dark. And make the eye, a little circle, about like that. Now I want to stop and give it a good dry, because when I work around the head, I don't want that to blur. Okay, so sticking with our liner brush. There's not so much white on the head, so I want to fix that and use some of the sap green here. Put some more of that color around there. It's a little dark. I'm going to lift some of that out. I just dip my brush in the paint. I'm just dipping my brush with water because I want to take some of that paint and closely go around the eye. I don't want it to spread too fast and too quickly. I want to control it. That's looking pretty good. I just see that it ran a little bit outside my line. I don't want to do that. But I can just take my paper towel and go like that. Didn't quite get it, so I need to re-wet it like that. And just carefully dab it. There. That looks better. Then I want to go back and get some more of that green there. It kind of blurred out on me. Like that. That's looking pretty good. Now I want to put a touch of the crimson. That's that beautiful, bright, pinkish red. Just a little bit on the throat here. It's a little bit strong. Just like that. Want it to kind of fade a little bit. And just a little water. Dry your brush. Like that. I don't want it that strong. Just a little bit like that. You know, you can spend many hours fiddling with it. But again, stop, sit back, look at it. So far, I like it. I like the overall look. And remember, when other people are looking at it, they're not going to be like this close to it. They're going to be, you know, a farther distance. So don't be critical on yourself and continue to have fun and explore the possibilities. Okay. Now let's work on this flower. Still sticking with our liner brush. Let's add some depth to this flower. I mean, it looks pretty flat. So let's take some cadmium red. And we have some of our mixture here with cadmium yellow. We want to add depth to this flower, so let's add some more petals. More petals. And let's add a really dark layer. It's like that. Now again, if it's too dark, just use a little water and dab it. Just want to do a little bit. Not much, just kind of like that. I think that's just about enough. Now let's add some depth to this stem, and then we'll work on a little bit of a background. Let's add our sap green, touch of viridian green. Has a little more blue. Let's give some richness to it. And to make it darker, add a touch of burnt umber. Just one a little darker. That's looking pretty good. And let's start here and go along here. Let's spread this a little bit. Use some water. Go along here. Like that. Now let's give it a quick dry before we do anything else. People might like the relief composition where there's that nice white background. So if you like that, you can stop now. If not, I'm going to continue to show you how to create a background in the vignette style. So take your round with pointed tip brush and let's load it with viridian green and some sap green, and we want a little yellow. We want the background to be faint, and we're not going to fill the whole page. We're going to leave the edges. So if you need to, go ahead and clean your palette here. I'm going to clean mine. I don't want some of the dark colors in it. Okay, so let's put some sap green on the palette and some Viridian green and a touch of cadmium yellow. I'm going to go ahead and wet my brush and just start here. I think it needs a little more yellow. And I'm going to put that straight on my paper and just add some water and start using water to thin it out. That seems a little bit too yellow, so let's add a little more sap green to that. Keep spreading it. And have fun with it, play with it. Bring it all the way up here and come up on the other side. Now I notice as I'm doing the stem is losing it, getting lost, and we will go back and fix that. I'm going to add just a touch of yellow here. And I like to, so you're creating this nice wash, and what I like to do a lot of times is to dab to get it some texture, like there's some light shadows, and it's kind of fun that way, I think. Let's go up here. I can see I splattered some paint, but you know, that's okay. Have fun with this. This is your creation, your time to think outside the box and your interpretation. Just go there, kind of like that. And just dabble. Now let's give this a good dry before we continue. Okay, the stem of the flower is really lost, but let's fix that. Let's use our round with pointed tip brush and use our sap green with Viridian. I'm going to get a lot of paint on here. And let's use some burnt sienna. I want it to be a little darker. That will give it a darker, richer color. And let's make this leaf a little bigger. We want this to stand out a little bit more. Bring this up here, like that. And here, where the flower is, like that. That's looking pretty good. And again, if you think that it's too strong, you can rinse your brush and just wipe it and lift some of that paint out. Just like that. You can always go back. Watercolor is activated by water, and it's just so fun. I have so much fun with it. Just lift it up like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I think I need to add some of this yellow green over here. So I have this mixture here, and I'm just going to add some cadmium yellow here on that. And add some little bit here. I'm wetting it, come around the bird's tail. Now it's not quite right, but I'm going to fix it. And just be patient. You know, you think, oh, I ruined it. Oh no, just relax. You know, you have options and choices and wonderful choices. So I'm going to dab this a little bit. And it kind of blends it in. This is running a little bit here. I'm going to dab it. And we call that sometimes a happy accident. I didn't maybe meant to do something certain, but it turned out. You know, this is not a photograph. This is your interpretation, your creation. And I think we all have wonderful imagination. Kind of like that. And then step back and look and see if you missed anything. And, you know, when I look at my painting, it makes me happy. It makes me smile. Maybe it's not perfect, but that's okay. I did something today that I enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed today. Hummingbirds are so fun to paint. Have a great day. So I thought next time it'd be fun to paint a Bambi. Fawns are so cute and adorable. So I went on the internet and looked at several different photographs. So here is our model for next time. Join me next time. Can't wait to see ya.